Hello to everyone, this is Vishal, and again we are new session of the day. So as we have done previously, lot of things related to the coroutines. I think how we can use, how we can implement, and that was the lecture we have done before 2 years back. So now again, I'm discussing few points related to the coroutines because of few things we changes now. We have a jetpack, we have uh, other approaches, and there's a different things to catch the API's values. So let's discuss about that. So first questions always be raised during the time of the interviews, and whenever we do any practical. So today we'll discuss about mainly that related to the few interview questions and few related to the practical questions. So that is one by one we'll discuss for the coroutine first. So as we know that the applications often need to perform the multiple tasks at the same time, and such as responding to the user input, loading data, updating the screens, a lot of things be there whenever you're creating the app. So for that, we can say that we need such approach which is independent of executions, and that is managed by the operating system. So at at this level we have only the one concept, and that is very old concept, that was the threats. So the threats were relatively heavy, creating many of them can lead to perform and it's a create a performance issues on. So to support the efficient concurrency, Kotlin uses the asynchronous programming built around coroutines. So that's the reason we are using the coroutines. But if you watch my previous sessions in which we have discussed the RX Java and other approaches, that is also be uh, the separate process or independent process, or we can say a sync task we have done. So what's the difference between your RX Java and the coroutines and this kind of as other asynchronous programming and coroutines? So a lot of discussions be there. So one by one we can discuss the points. So here the first major point is whenever we create any applications, we are using the multiple task in that applications as all the tasks be working concurrently. So on that cases we need a async programming, and for the async programming what we need it, we need to create such a things which not be uh, performance related any issue be create on that case. So these things we have to lead. Okay, so now async is what? Asynchronous programming is very important, and it's now a common part of the modern application. So first, these are very important things to the new students who learn that this kind of apps in the Kotlin. So first they need to understand the async programming. So it increases the amount of the work that an app can execute by allowing tasks to execute in a parallel. So this makes sure that the heavy tasks run in the background, keeping the UI thread responsive and improving the overall user experiences. So we need such a task which will work on the background, and the keeping the UI thread responses also. Just like say that if you want loading data, means we have a lot of pictures we need to show in the recycler view. So that means whenever we do the loading, that means a few pictures be loaded, then few pictures loaded on the background side, and it's showing in the UI thread. So both are working on that case. Or we can say that there is some task which we are showing UI, but on the button click we need some other data, so that is running on the backgrounds, and we the things we showing on your first whatever be the UI on that case. So that's the way you can work with a async task. Okay, so if anybody asks to you that what are the coroutines, you can say that simply they are the lightweight alternatives to the threads, and they can suspend without blocking the system resources and are resource friendly, making them better suited for the fine grained concurrency. So that means we can use the async task by this coroutine. So it is a concurrency design pattern that you can use on the Android to simplify code. and the team defines the coroutine as the lightweight threads. You can say that they are the lightweight threads. They are sort of the task that the actual threads can execute. So multiple definitions be here for the coroutine for the interview preparations, and we'll see how we can use it, how we can implement. Okay, so now if we go for the next part of that, because of previously whenever the Kotlin be started, that time we can use this with the Coroutine libraries, or our we can import it. But nowadays they are the inbuilt and you can use them. So the coroutine in the Kotlin are the built on the suspending functions which allow code to pause and resume without blocking the thread. That is the most important line, which allow code to pause and resume. And the suspend keywords marks the functions that can perform long running operations asynchronously. Okay, so that's very simple step, we can use it. So today let me explore more because of led to the async task. So today we have many async tools in the hand, like as I discussed on my previous session before 2 years, that was the Rx Java async task, jobs threads. So a lot of things be there, but why we choose this coroutine instead of choosing the Rx Java async tasks, or jobs or threads? It's your choice that that you can use the Rx Java. That is also very good. Or but for the async tasks, jobs or threads, so Rx Java safe uses is complex and has a step learning curve because of a lot of sessions I have already done in the Rx Java, but little bit complicacy there, and means whenever you do the programming on that case, otherwise it's very safe. Okay, and async tasks and threads, they can easily introduce leaks and memory overhead. So that's the point. We don't use the async task and the threads, and the callbacks be the complex and readable and excessive code. That means if you want to call back so unnecessary, you can make functions for the callbacks, and then multiple functions if we have a big sessions of the code. So that means lot of callbacks we have to create for that. So we never choose these kind of things, but Rx Java, I say that you can use that is. But if you are a we can say that if you tackle it, or you are smart to choose that, or you have to work with this Rx Java easily, because of we have done very sessions, I think 3 or 4 sessions on the Rx Java, so you learn on that if you want to go with that also. But here we're discussing about the coroutines, so that means you can use the coroutine instead of these things, and it is a single thread platform. By default everything runs on the main threads, and almost every application needs to perform some non-UI operations like network call IO operations. So on that case we need the coroutine concept, and we can execute it like that. Okay, and why means what are the benefits of choosing this? So you can say that it is the recommended solution for the async programming, and they are the lightweighted. They are built in the cancellation support, means if you want to cancel it, means lot of data be hang somewhere, or our API be hang somewhere, but the data not loaded. So on that case you can cancel it. We have or automatically cancels with that if we have a long time we are using on that. Memory leaks be very less, but how we can do the memory leaks in this, that I will describe also. But here you can say that very less chances of doing the memory leaks, and jetpack integrations you can use it very easily on that. So I will describe you, and it means nowadays as we are using the jetpack view model, so you can make the view models with the repositories using this. I mean we can interact it very easily on that case. Okay, so that's the way you can use these things, and now I will describe more about that on my next slides, I mean next sessions on that, uh, and how we can use it practically. So let's see. Okay, so let's start it Android Studio, and we'll first create a function that is related to the fetch data. Okay, and I'm making the string type return for this. And now the important part is we have to create the function suspend for this, not a simple function. Because of coroutine, as I discussed, we can call the coroutine using a suspend. Okay, so that means we can use the delay inside and we can work with the return sum. So on this I'm making a return that uh, any string here. So just this is suspend return for the coroutine. So that's the way. First we create a, on the very first step we have to create a suspend function. That's an important part. Okay, now once our fetch data be created, we have to create a main function. That means we have to call in a main. So that's the way we have to create one call main, and under that we have to create a coroutine main thread. So whenever we work with a coroutine, that is the very first step, we have to go for our coroutine scope as we discussed. And under that coroutine is we have a dispatchers, and we have a dispatchers like a main, we have a IO, we have a lot of. But whenever you doing at a very first step, you have to use this method coroutine scope dispatcher dot main dot launch, because of many people confuse on where we have to call this. So whenever we call any simple calling data and you want to work with a coroutine, there's no need of IO until we have a very big data, we have a very big collections of a data. So or a background process, we have to use the IO process of that. Okay, so that I will show you that how we can call it with the big data. Okay, that's also okay. So if you have a collection of the big data, so let's see on the same example, whatever be our suspend functions, we are fetching a lot of data. Just consider, because of at this time I'm just using a delay 2000 and return one thing. But suppose if they're very big data, so how we can use that? That is the second step. So you have to follow the same pattern. Always coroutine scope at very first level, work on the main thread, and then you can go for the launch. And under that, that is a very important thing, as we discussed, we need a context for this. Okay, so we have to call the context, and that the statement is with context. Okay, so that's the function, and then under that we have to call our second dispatcher, that is called your IO. That's an important part. And as I already described in my previous sessions before 2 years, how many kind of dispatchers they are and how we can implement that. So all stuffs be there in my previous sessions, so that I will link. So here, once this data be done, you just call your suspended function, and then just what happened, fetch, yes, fetch data, and then we have to whatever be the data, you just display it or call it there. So that's the way you can use your big data, or big values under that we have to call. So that's the way you can work on. Now we'll see that how we can call with the API, and then the same things, not that function, we have to create a retrofit and how we can use it. That is our third way to calling this. So first is very simple, main we have done. Second, we have using the IO, that is the background process, that is our function. Now we have to go for the same thing, but if there be a uh, retrofit calls or API calls, so how we can fetch it. So let's see. Okay, so to call this first to call API, first we need to create a one data class, that is called the post. So as in my previous examples, I'm using the same to show you how we can call this data class. So this is a way we have to create it, just like a models we are creating. So I'm using four parameters here. One is the user ID, the other is ID, and let's see, there is a title we are taking here, and The fourth one, I'm uh, making a body for this. Okay, so this maybe you can use your borders there, just whatever be the API call you can use. So that's the way. First we have created that data class. Now we have to call this with that means retrofit. So let's see that how we can create that. Okay. Okay, so as we have done so many times that how we can use the retrofit. So here two things that is an important. We have to call the retrofit 2 with the versions, or you will see that the new versions also, and the other thing is converter JSON. So these two things that is important. We did it. So first we need these dependencies here. Okay, so as we have done that is dependency, the next step is calling the interface here. So I'm making the interface API service, and in API service, just we'll see that we have done these things also many times. You have to call the get here because of I want to fetch the get data, and this our API endpoints I'm using. So that is the post slash one, and I think these are open APIs. You can also call the same if you want to retrieve it. I will share the link when I create a object class on that. Okay, so now the suspended function, as I told you, that is important part. Whenever you call the coroutine, the first thing is that you have to call the suspended function. Okay, that's the most important part. Okay, so let us start with the object retrofit client. As we have done with the API service, we have done with the post. Now we have to create the object class as uh, like we have done the singleton. The same way we are making it in a Kotlin, and you can use in Jetpack also. So that's, I mean, also in the view model. So here I'm using the link that is the public link. You can also access for the experiments lot of data here. So that is the JSON placeholder, and we have a post APIs in it, that is the type I code, and this is our URL, and endpoint we already put it in our API service. So for this we have to create one variable here, and because of lot of questions be related to the interview, so like a val, where, why we using this thing. So in the val we can't update the things again, so that is fixed, and variables we are using by changing, uh, like means we can update it in our program. So there here the same approaches for the coroutines, making this video. So we can use this coroutine as an easy approach. That's the basic functionalities I want to create. Before already we have done, but now also. Okay, so leave it. Now we have to make that API services by the lazy. Whenever you work with the lazy, that means you can call uh, your any functions or anything under that. So here we have a retrofit builders. I'm using the base URL, then I'm using the converter factories, and now we have to make as a complete build for that, and that is for your creations. Okay, and what we have to create here, we have to create our API service, and as it is the Java related class, so we are making it as an under the Kotlin as in the class.java. So that's the way you can create your simple retrofit calls be like, and we have done with the post retrofit client API services, all stuffs. Now we have to go for our function. Okay, now we have to call this whatever we have done. So for this I am making one function, that is the private one, call API, and the same things we have to use it. Coroutine scope, this is your dispatchers, we are using the main, and then now we have to launch it. And once means whenever you call any function or data, that means you can launch it, okay, here. And we have to create a post, and that post with context, because of at this time I'm making IO labels, means background process, so I'm using the dispatchers with context. And here we have a single one post. Here you can call the multiple post and you can test your data. And here we have a retrofit client.api, whatever be the get post we have. And now if you want to print, I'm just making a print for one post here. So that is the title, and that title we should be as in the our uh, we have to concat the things here and just show here, it's showing the post dot title. So that's a very simple approaches we have done in our coroutine. What's the issue? Okay, so we have to remove we have to remove this double quote here. Okay, so that's the way you can use a very simple coroutine call API. Okay, so this is how, I mean, in the three approaches we have done, like only the main approach in which we are call a simple method. Now if we have our data be there. Okay, one more thing I am just making for the try catch, that is a good um, approach of programming. So that means that is a good way of programming if using under that try catch exceptions. Okay, so that I'm talking about, we have done with the three approaches. Simple one is main, other is called the background process, and third is your the background process if you're using the retrofit calls. And we'll describe you in the jetpack also. And that's also be, I mean, lazy columns we will make. And uh, we will cover the room and this thing. So the basic thing is, because of in many interview questions they are asking for the coroutines, so you can just describe the way as we have done today. That is a second implement of or we can say that second session of that, in which I have described for the coroutine here. Before we have done sessions, in first sessions we have done lot of things with there if you want to see. So that's the way, a very simple approaches we are using for the coroutines. Okay, we'll see for the next sessions in coming videos. Thanks.